When I first started doing B2B scripts, we were doing UPS at Ogilvy, and it's logistics, right? You can't get any more technical than that. And so we would get these pretty technical briefs. And where I like to start is there's always a hero. Even in a B2B brief in a script, there's always a hero. It's either your product or the person using your product. And so I always like to look at that brief and say, what's the hero here? Once I've identified where the hero is, I start to work back from there. Well, what makes this product the hero? What is it letting somebody do that they weren't able to do before? And I tend to shy away from words like storytelling, but I think in cases like this, there is an element of storytelling. B2B script is just to communicate information. You're trying to hook someone with that hero story. If I don't know a lot about the product, I take a deep dive into it. I always ask if there's interviews of customers I could take a look at, if there's a product marketer I can talk to, pitch decks the company's putting forth towards investors. I just try to gather as much information as I can. I have a notepad up, and anything that I find interesting as a normal human being, I'll take that and I'll put it on my sheet. And at the end of this exercise, I'll have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, or however many points that I find really compelling about the product. I think we hear B2B and you kind of think that it's not going to be fascinating or it's not going to be compelling as a human, but there's always an element of fascination there. I always start with, okay, let's just get it all out on paper, right? I don't care how technical it sounds. I'm going to use this backbone of everything I've put together. And I look at it and I say, okay, well, if I'm an actual human, what is this thing actually saying? We tend to use these buzzwords, leverage or deploy or scale. And I always ask myself, how would a human being say this? Like, what does leveraging mean here? Or what does scaling mean here? And then I also like to look for woodenness in the language, bring in contractions, bring in some sort of element to giving it more of a human voice, even if you have to get technical sometimes. And we're deluding ourselves if we say these things don't have to get technical. I think a workaround is to interject humanity, put a question in there, put a little conjecture before your line, have a little sign off after your line. So you're reminding people that the script is coming from an actual company with a personality or a human voice. So even if you have that technical language, what are some of the flourishes you can add to it? Or what are some of the pauses you can put into your script, the natural kind of rhythmic tones that we speak with and some of the colloquialisms we speak with? And I find that extremely helpful as well. What I tend to find with every single piece of jargon that we either read or write, it's placeholder words. So when we say scale, we're not saying scale. It's almost like a blank space that no one has filled in yet because no one's bothered to think it through. When we say optimize, what does optimize actually mean? It's just a placeholder. And you have to unpack what that thing means.